Hey, would it help if my microphone was on? Oh my gosh. So I keep my microphone in my back pocket and I obviously wired up a good 10 minutes. So I didn't want to wear the battery down. So my apology. Let me give you a brief recap uh, as far as what I've covered so far. What we're talking about today is the millennials would call it a hack. It's simply an exercise that I learned years ago when I broke off on my own from Tom Hopkins. And I was struggling in my business. And I realized that it was because I wasn't getting the most out of my time. I got the same amount of time that the person next to me does. Why are they getting better results than me? So, how could I make better use out of my time? And in the exercise to do this, you're going to need two things. You're going to need two calendars. Now, I do recommend that you make this paper based. And so I printed two calendars off my Google Calendar, and I use the monthly view. I like that, and you'll understand a little bit more here in a moment what that does. But the two calendars you're going to have, one is where you're going to plan out your week, and the second one is now actually tracking what you did. And as you get into this, you're going to have some major labels for the types of that you can group your tasks under so you can accurately measure how well you're doing. And so I have found 5 to 7 labels is plenty, and you're creating a legend for yourself. You'll find as you begin to track, the different tasks for the most part will fit under a different label. So to help you out, I have 4 that should apply to everybody. The first and foremost is dollar producing activities. These are activities that have something to do with the outcome of generating income for yourself. That might be sales calls. It could be going to a closing and coming away with referrals, right? I'll be talking about that later on. How do we get referrals out of closings? But obviously a task that's directly correlated to producing income. Then you have administration. Administration is the paper pushing. You have personal. Our lives and work is intertwined. We're going to have personal stuff going on, so it's only fair that that's accounted for. And then everyone has some level of customer service as well. So where this is fun, and what you didn't hear me explain earlier was when I would struggle, and I still have struggles, of course. Not every day is a great day. And when I would feel like I was busy but not productive, or find too much month at the end of my money, I would come back to this exercise because it would help realign what's important, not necessarily urgent, but what was important that I needed to work on that was going to help me get where I'm going. I think you can agree that we all have too many things to do with not enough time. So how do we have the right focus? How do we maintain the right priorities? I would get lost in that from time to time, and I'd find myself in a rut, stuck in terms of my productivity. So 20 years ago, as I started on my own doing classroom training with real estate agents and loan originators, this was the most popular class that I taught. This class was one that I get the most feedback on, and people would say would be fun. And the fun had to do with making things into games. When I struggle, when I'm frustrated, I try to figure out how can I turn this into a game? Because if I don't, I'm going to procrastinate because I don't want to deal with that. But if I turn it into a game and make it fun, I have a better chance of doing that. And that's my goal here today is, not to teach you time management or time planning, is to give you a method or exercise and a twist to it that might spark some or even inspire you to tackle it. So again, you see more increased productivity in what you're doing. Okay. So how's the exercise work? Once you kind of have some major labels, and by the way, you can change these labels as you go. There's no hard, fast rules here. It's really about making it your own over time. What you want to do, and Fridays are a great day for this. So on Friday, you take your first calendar, right? And you plan out next week. So let's say on Monday, you've got a 9 a.m. meeting. At noon, you've got your lunch. Maybe you got a doctor appointment at noon, and then maybe at 4 you have a closing. Okay. So you go ahead and you plan out next week today. Now, here's my best advice from what I learned as I implemented this exercise for myself. And I found I did not want to plan more than 60% of my time. Now, you might find as you get into this to be a little bit more, a little bit less. But for me, as I measured, I found that, okay, if I plan next week at least 60% of my time, it left pockets there. So if fires, went off, it didn't crush me. Does that ever happen where you're just constantly putting out fires and you feel like you just got nothing done? Very frustrating. And so we don't want to overplan our time because there are things that pop up that aren't always, within your control or when you can expect them to happen. So that's why I advise only to pre-plan about 60% of your time. So on Fridays, you plan out just next week on your calendar. And again, I recommend you start with this on paper. Yes, you can move it to digital eventually once you really harness the power of this. But in the beginning, I'd stick with paper. Have it right on your desk. All right. So let's say you got next week planned out. So what's going to happen on Monday? You're going to take your other planner, and on Monday, you're going to track your time in blocks of 1 hour. Yeah, I know. It sucks. One of the most painful exercises I've ever done. Some people say, well, you should track it in 15-minute increments. Okay, I can't handle that. So I advise, 1 hour time blocks is plenty to get a handle on where your time's going. So all you're doing is writing down the tasks that you did, each hour. And it doesn't have to be super detailed. Don't make this so detailed it's a ton of work. It should only take you a few minutes or a moment just to jot down, okay, last hour I did this and this. And it's okay to give those tasks a general label too. Okay. So you're tracking your time with what you're doing and where it's going. You're probably thinking, well, Jeff, where the hell is the fun in this? I know, I get it, right? The fun comes back to the Crayolas. The fun is color coding now these tasks. So again, as you start spelling out what you're doing with your time in 1 hour time blocks, you're then coming back and color coding where they fit under that major label. Okay. You might have a set of tasks. They all mean the same thing. They all had something to do with administration. So that time block might be colored in red. And then you might have a time block where you made some sales calls. So that one's going to be green. And so you're following up each day, actually writing down what you did, and then you're color coding it. Okay. So the next Friday, you plan out your next week. Once again, yes, the following week, in 1 hour time blocks, you track what you actually did, and then you color code. Color can be really powerful, and you're going to see the pattern in the first 2 weeks. And you could probably take a guess at what colors might really show up. If you're not blowing it out right now, if you're not having your best year ever, you could probably already start to guess what colors are going to show up. Now, even if you can guess, still follow through and do the exercise here. So you want to go through and color code each of those weeks, because here's what's going to happen. And this is why it's great to start it out on paper. When you have this calendar of your actual time and it's color coded, it's so easy now for you to begin spotting patterns. Where is my time going? Where are my bottlenecks? And once you identify those, now you can go to work on it. And of course, my bottlenecks were in red and blue, wasn't seeing very much green that first couple of weeks. Actually, it only took me a week to go, okay, it's obvious why I suck right now. But the thing was, I was able to start going to work on the tasks that were priority, that were most important. Okay, now I'm not going to get real deep into this today, but what do you do about the things that still need to get done and you're a business of one? Yeah, it's tough. I get it. You probably have some longer hours right now as you're trying to get out of that rut or grow your business. But what you need is what I call a little aid. And that's simply an acronym that stands for automate, delegate, or eliminate. So as I would identify these tasks on my calendar, and they were tasks that were not dollar producing, I would now ask myself, is this something that can be automated? Can it be delegated, or can it be eliminated? So that's a quick exercise. The color coding is the twist I found that not only made this fun, but helped me to follow through. And each week, what I would see, and this is the fun part, I start seeing more green show up on my calendar. And it would only be a matter of a week or two later, I would start to see the results that I was working toward begin to appear. And that reinforced my behavior. Okay, this is a very powerful exercise that would help me reestablish maybe some old habits that I had got away from, and maybe develop some poor habits and so forth. So I don't know how many are still with me here. My apology for not having my mic on. I'll probably do this class again for everyone's benefit. But most importantly is share your feedback with me. Post a comment below and let me know what you think. Is this something that you plan to implement? Or maybe are you doing something similar to this now? And if so, what have you learned from your own experience from tracking your own time, color coding, or at least labeling that, and how you're moving yourself to more dollar producing activities in your business? So I'm seeing if there's any questions. Again, if you're watching this live, put pound live in the comments. If you're watching this on replay, put pound replay. I'll know you're watching the replay itself, but please share some feedback with me and let me know how this can work out for you, and keep me apprised too. If this is a new twist for you, you think, hey, I'm going to go ahead and try that, and you start to work on it. If you get stuck, or maybe there was something I wasn't very clear on, come back and post in the comments on this particular video your question or comments, and I'll come in and follow up with that. So again, sorry for the microphone issue. I'm not going to forget that next time. I do appreciate those of you that did jump on here early. I just didn't have my Facebook page up to see those comments right away, and that's why there was a delay in the volume. So hey, you guys go have a great weekend. Before you start your weekend, print out those 2 calendars, plan out next week, and then on Monday start tracking your time by the hour, and let's see what happens for you with your productivity here over the next 6 weeks. Thanks so much for joining me.